What NFC North tight end is due for a big breakout in 2018? Who's the better draft pick this season, Melvin Gordon or Kareem Hunt? And we play a Dynasty Would You Rather with the 101 pick. Plus the 2017 Football Guys Players Championship third-place finisher Greg Pignatelli drops by to discuss if Derrick Henry will be overvalued and Hunter Henry will be undervalued, and talk about his rise up the leaderboard in the championship round. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzakin addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, how does Jimmy Garoppolo's contract affect where he will go in drafts? Should you be selling on Gronk in Dynasty and the third-place finisher and $15,000 winner in the Football Guys Players Championship? Greg Pignatelli joins us to talk Dynasty 2018 drafts and what he gave up for Wentz, Watkins, and a first-rounder in one of his FFPC Dynasty leagues. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post questions you have in there. We are at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, and at David Gerzak on Twitter. You can connect with us on Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in and talk with us, give us a call at 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, get them in now. Our producer and mutual friend Rob, as well as our audio engineer Bryce, will get those chat room questions, tweets, and emails to us in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Greg Pignatelli is our guest tonight, third place in the Football Guys Players Championship. He is coming up in about 2 minutes here. Before we get to him, a couple of housekeeping notes that I want to bring up to you. New Dynasty Orphans are still available at myffpc.com/dynasty, and I say they are still available because we got a few new ones that came in this week. I think we are in the single digits now, Dave. Is that correct? We have single-digit Dynasty Orphans available?
That is correct.
So we're in the single digits. There's 2 or 3 that just got added in the last 36 hours, roughly?
Yeah, I mean, the deal is like the 77s and 250s, when we get them, sometimes they sell them like a half an hour. I mean, they don't stick around for too long. So, check frequently if you're interested in those levels. Otherwise, 750s and 1250s. They have a few of those. Good teams, too, actually.
Yeah, that's good. So check that out at myffpc.com/dynasty. Actually, you can just go to myffpc.com. There is a banner that will be sticking right in your face when you get to the site, assuming you're logged in. Just click on that, and you can see a list of all the players and picks available, along with manufacturer's suggested retail prices next to those teams as well. Feel free to make an offer, Dave, at myffpc.com as well. The Season 3 of the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown with yours truly and Ryan Santos.
You got renewed.
Yeah, we got renewed. That's not news. We knew that we'd be renewed in December. But it's season premiere. We had Ryan Santos at FF Links on Twitter. He's been on this show before. He is a big-time best ball player and won a lot of money over the last couple of years and did really, really well in 2017. This past season, more than $26,000, Dave, in best ball leagues that he had played in. And those were like, 35, 77s, 250s. So, I mean, it adds up quick. He did very, very well for himself. Cashed in 8 out of 10 double-ups as well. So a lot of great stuff, some good best ball strategy in that episode, as well as Ryan's take on some players this year. So check that out, rotoviz.com/podcast. It is up there right now. And the last bit of news, Dave, I don't know if you saw this. We have our own website, finally.
Ooh.
Only the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour has its own website.
Is it a .net site?
It is, no, it's hsffhour.com.
HSFR dash.
No. That's just
6969.
Go to hsffhour.com. You can probably peruse. It's not a huge site. You can probably peruse the whole thing in a matter of minutes.
No.
Me and Rob.
Shut up.
Yep, we did. And there's some stuff on there. If you guys want to see anything else on there, there's some like bio stuff, some pictures, some highlights of the show, and other stuff on there. So check that out. And if you ever want to see anything on there, let us know. We'll see if me and Rob can get on there. That's hsffhour.com.
Wow, that really is a site.
Yeah, it really is. It's not fake, and it's also mobile responsive, something I know the FFPC has struggled with in the past.
Look, you don't need this type of criticism, Balky.
You know
we have
me.
an app coming out.
I know, that's the other cool thing. We'll give updates.
Do you have an
on
app
that.
for your stupid podcast?
I don't know, but
And my stupid podcast?
ask me in 7 years how long it took this website to get going, and we might have an app by then.
All right.
Let's get to tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, enough of the bear baiting, as my old high school history teacher would say. Started playing fantasy football back in the early 90s. Not my old high school history teacher. Tonight's guest did. His friends from Philly and he were in a 4-player keeper league. Since then, he has run the gamut between mostly Dynasty League with a few redrafts every year. He's a big believer in being very active on the trade front as well as keeping on top of the waiver wire. He used those skills this year to cash $15,000 as the third-place finisher in the 2017 Footballguys Players Championship. Please welcome into the show Mr. Greg Pignatelli. Greg, congrats on the cash, and congrats on the big Super Bowl victory for your Eagles. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, fellas. How you doing tonight?
We're doing excellent. Have you recovered? Has your voice returned? Are you all coup de la now after the big celebration, the victory parade for your world champion Eagles?
I'll tell you guys, I'm still flying high. I mean, no pun, rocky pun intended, but I was sick Thursday, but I watched the game. Obviously, I still jumped around. My wife's like, "What's going on?" You were just sick in bed and you're jumping around and yelling and f-bombing and everything else. And I said, "It's the Super Bowl," and to the final play and that ball hit the ground, I was speechless. It took a few minutes for it to really sink in, and even now I'm still, did that really happen? Did they really finally win it as such underdogs throughout the whole playoffs with no Wentz? But yeah, I mean, it's I didn't go to the parade yesterday because I actually had to go back to work because I was off Tuesday and Wednesday sick. But just people I knew went and everybody had a great time. And, it was pretty good. I mean, I think it hopefully shed a, good light on the city because Philly's always, throw batteries at Santa Claus and everything else, or snowballs, sorry. But, yeah, I mean, it's just hopefully it's the beginning of a dynasty here. I really think it is. A young team, MVP quarterback and Wentz, and we'll see what goes from there.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I don't know what it would be like to be the only guy in Philadelphia working during the parade. So I can't imagine you got too much done, Greg. But hey, kudos to you for keeping your nose to the grindstone on that. Tell the listeners what you do for work when you're not cashing in the Footballguys Players Championship.
I've been in the manufacturing sector in the basically supply chain for the last basically like 21 years or so. Started off my first 20 years basically making mops and brooms for Quickie Manufacturing, and then the last year I just went to a new company. So I'm just basically a supply chain guy. Production, everything else that goes with it, basically. I mean, it kind of. The funny thing is, when I get in leagues, everybody's like, "Are you a used car salesman or something like that?" I'm not even in sales. That's what is the funny thing. I'm always liaison with sales and production and materials and marketing, everything else. But yeah, not in sales.
Well, I know I don't have any good questions to ask about that, so I'm going to go right into your $15,000 team. Third overall. You entered the championship round in 6th place, and you were always in the thick of it during the sprint there for at least 14, 15, and 16. So this is your first year in the FPC, according to my question here. So what can you tell us about how watching the games, how much different was it for you in those 3 weeks?
Well, I tell you, I mean, with any kind of playoffs, once you make it in, there's always the stress out of, okay, which tight end do I pick? Do I go with the guy that got me here or the guy that's a little bit hotter? 14 and 15, not so much. I had that pressure, but obviously 16, I was right there. I want to say I was in like 10th or 15th place going into that last week, and I knew I had a really, good shot at getting number one overall. And the funny thing is it actually came down to I picked the right tight end. I started because I lost Henry to injury, so I started Vernon Davis, and he actually had a decent game. But my one flex spot came down to my hometown Eagle, Jeffrey, Marvin Jones, who did well throughout the season, and Deion Lewis. And I kind of put Jeffrey to the side. They didn't really need the game. I thought they were going to run. Then I looked at the other two, and I said, the way Belichick is with his running backs, and you never know with them. And I just thought the upside play was Marvin Jones. I could see him explode and get that, 9-10 reception, 120 yards, and a score or so. And that's what I figured I need. Come Christmas Eve, I already knew I didn't start Deion Lewis, who had that great game, and I'm like, if I lose because of this, I'm going to be kicking myself. And, that one play tumbled me from first to third. But, hey, you can't complain. You really can't complain. So this is other guys. I mean, Russell Wilson had his two worst games of the year in weeks 15 and 16. So, there's blame, not that I'm pointing any fingers, but, it's just I got over it quickly because what are you going to do? I couldn't cry over spilled milk at that point. And I said, you know what? I'm going to roll over some of the winnings and I'm going to walk with some money here. So, all in all, it was a banner year.
Yeah, and you really couldn't waste any energy celebrating a $250,000 victory when you had to save that up for rooting for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So clearly, I think that there is a higher power at work here to make sure that the Eagles got that ring this year. Greg Pignatelli, our guest tonight, the third place finisher in the Football Guys Players Championship. Let's talk about a guy who finished as the wide receiver 12 this year, Marvin Jones, a guy you had just talked about. You got him in the 9th round of this draft, and he was obviously not only integral to your success to get to the playoffs, but also to do very well in the league playoffs and the championship round as well. What can you tell us about what you liked about him last year? And in 2018, is there a receiver that you think could also go in a similar range to Marvin Jones, who also has a very good chance at outperforming his draft stock in a similar way that Marvin Jones did this past season?
Well, when I start to get that lower in the rounds, especially wide receivers, I'm looking for a few things. One, I'd like them to obviously be tied to, a very good quarterback, and Stafford is that. I also look at, no running game to speak of. I, along with others, had been expecting some things from Amir, but he's not steady enough, and I figured there's still a lot of receptions to go around. And the other thing is not a stellar defense because, hey, obviously we all like those shootouts. They help all us fantasy guys. So I kind of looked at it, and I just I wanted the more consistent guy with a little bit more upside. So rather than go the Golden Tate way, I just, thought Marvin Jones was kind of the way to go. Kind of a guy I was targeting in that range. If I recall, I was almost taking him in the 8th round, but I put off one more and then pulled the trigger there. For 2018, a guy, what I have to do is, because I'm in so many more dynasties than I am in redrafts, I always have to change my thinking a little bit. You're only looking at the 1 year. So a guy I'm just expecting to hopefully finally break out with a healthy stud quarterback is Moncrief in Indianapolis. I think if Luck comes back and, you got T.Y. on the other side drawing coverage of it, I think there's a guy who, I haven't really seen a lot of mocks yet, but goes probably in that range. You know, he still has the youth on the side. He's playing for his contract. I think there's a guy, a nice sleeper guy. I mean, I've targeted him in a lot of dynasties that I don't have him already. But I think a lot of people kind of have that same feeling because he does seem like a sleeper to me. But I'm going to throw out a real wild card, somebody who probably isn't even, well, I don't know. I would say probably 12th round, if not later. And it's another hometown guy, and it's going to be Matt Collins. I'm thinking the Eagles are probably going to release Torrey Smith, and that's going to be your starter opposite Jeffries. Now, you know, they have a lot of targets with Ertz and the backs out of the backfield and everything else, but there's a guy I'm going to be targeting on my redraft teams that, you know, probably looking for. I get a look when the time comes, but I'm thinking you probably get him pretty late. So we'll see how that
definitely.
goes.
I would say Matt Collins. Yeah, Matt Collins is going to be going super late in drafts this year for sure, Dave.
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you think? So for dynasty leagues, Dante Moncrief, or Monte Moncrief, as we like to call him.
Yeah, Danny Miller.
So what do you think he's worth as a rookie pick? I mean, I think you could probably get him almost for sure for like a mid-second, late second, and even sometimes a third if people are just ready to give up on him. What have you been getting him for?
I mean, I would jump for him on a third. You know, I mean, usually, and you guys have probably seen some of my deals that I've already pulled off in my the dynasty orphans that I took over. My deals are usually packages, you know, so he's usually just trying to get him thrown in. You know, if I need to add something, I easily think he would be worth, you know, just straight up, I would give up probably an early to mid-second round rookie pick.
Sure.
I don't see him go much further, you know. But
right. And then it's nice, Matt Collins, you'll be able to grab him probably in some of those rookie drafts, maybe in like the 4th or 5th, and not even have a problem getting him.
He doesn't have the rookie shine.
He's under the radar. I actually want him in one dynasty league where I have a 25-man roster, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, there you go.
So
yeah,
anyway,
well, he's a guy you wouldn't have started him this year at all, you know. But he's a guy I've watched every game, and you know he's only had a few receptions here and there, but you just see that. Not that he's special. He's not going to turn into, you know, some great top 10 guy, but I think he's going to be a nice, consistent, you know, top 20, 25, you know, wide receiver that you can get very cheap right now.
Yeah, I mean, he did score 44.6 fantasy points. I mean, that's, as they say, that's not nothing.
You know, and I will say, too, there's plenty of fantasy analysts, well, not plenty, but there's a handful of fantasy analysts, you know, stuff I read in the preseason this past year. Who's a deep sleeper that you'd be looking at, you know, that you shouldn't be totally off the radar. And people were even saying Matt Collins last year during drafting season, too. So I think there is something there. And especially if Smith is gone, you step into an elite offense with, you know, Carson Wentz ostensibly being the starter for at least the majority of the season. Things could be looking pretty good for Matt Collins, and you definitely don't have to pay a premium like you would some certain first-round running backs this year, Dave.
Yeah, Greg, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's get away from these Eagles. No offense, I'm sick of talking. But
no problem.
Three of your first 4 picks are running backs in this draft. Let's talk about Melvin Gordon and Kareem Hunt. So which one of those two are you more likely to select over the other one next year?
For me, it's kind of an easy answer, and I'm going to go with Hunt on that one. You know, I think that Big Red sees the writing on the wall. He's got the young quarterback. He's going to have to run the ball. He's going to have to throw those quick screens to, you know, keep his quarterback upright. And, you know, Melvin, again, another guy I have on, you know, a good amount of my dynasty leagues. I love the guy, but he's a volume guy. You know, your yards per carry aren't there. And my fear is really they're starting to compile so many weapons there. You know, Mike Williams, if he comes back to do anything, it's going to take any receptions away from him. You know, you have another year of Hunter Henry there. You have the little rookie scat back, you know, Keller catching balls out of the backfield. So, you know, not a guy I would shy away from, but at that price tag I would. You know, if he starts to fall, sure, I'll take a shot on him. But he's nowhere near, you know, a first-round redraft in my opinion. You know, but like I said, Kareem Hunt, I think he's probably the way to go between the two. easily see him putting up top 10, if not top 5 running back numbers next year.
A new quarterback there, and a lot of people are excited about that with Pat Mahomes running the offense there. Maybe a few more big plays in store, and Kareem Hunt would certainly love to be part of a big play offense. Greg Pignatelli is our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak talking with the third-place finisher and $15,000 winner in the Footballguys Players Championship. We were just talking about the Chargers. Let's keep talking about them because there's some media reports out there that Antonio Gates might be back again in 2018, the guy who never seems to retire and always comes back every single year. Sort of like Dave on this show. Every single week he's back right in front of me. Does that make Hunter Henry a guy who was on
just as much of a Hall of Famer?
Just as much of a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. I'm the Hunter Henry to your Antonio Gates.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
I'll take it.
But anyway, Hunter Henry was a guy on your third place FPC team, Greg. Does this make Hunter Henry more likely a guy to be a buy in drafts if he gets pushed down again, because people will know that Antonio Gates is still lurking out there and probably going to be playing a lot of snaps in that red zone area where touchdowns can be so important? Could Hunter Henry actually be a nice little buy this year?
You know, the funny thing is, I mean, I've been playing since 94, 95. It seems like Gates has been around since then. And, you know, this guy is just older than dirt, but he continues to come back. But the same reports were out there this year. You know, Gates is going to take receptions from him. And, you know, especially in the 1.5 receptions for the tight end leagues, you know, I don't think I got Hunter at a discount this year. Yeah, I mean, he was in everybody's, I think, you know, top 5 for the redraft. So, if anything, to be honest, just kind of the same caveat with Melvin, that I'm a little nervous about too many weapons there. I would probably shy away from him. You know, in turn, I might go with one of the second-year tight ends. You know, not Ingram, because you're not going to get him unless you're paying top 3 tight end prices. But you know, maybe OJ or the Cleveland guy. You know, I always forget how to say his name, so I butcher fantasy football guys' names, yeah. But, you know, I mean, I would go that path, and probably, again, unless Hunter kind of falls to me, not a guy I'm particularly going to target as, you know, ADP that I projected going into this year's drafts.
You know what I'm kind of interested in, to go along with that theme, is more for Dynasty than for redraft is Johnny Smith, actually.
Yeah, Johnny Smith, Delaney Walker getting up there.
He's getting up there. And Smith was actually one of those, there's some wrote of his article where he actually matched up fairly closely to like Njoku and those other guys for how productive he was in college, so that he's supposed to be actually a really good prospect.
You know, I do remember a lot of people tell, like, draft nicks on Twitter, Dave, where the real experts hang out. I do remember a lot of people talking about Johnny Smith before the draft, and then after Tennessee drafted him, and they're like, he's behind Delaney Walker. And then it seemed like nobody talked about him after that. So he's a guy to be paying attention to definitely as well.
So, Greg, let's stick with Dynasty a little bit. You picked up a few orphan teams. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. You've got some trades going already. So what are you trying to do? I mean, the news is quiet. Free agency starts, I think, March 14th or 15th or something like that. What are you trying to do so far with the rosters of the teams that you picked up?
Well, you know, the first thing I like to do is put my fingerprints on it. You know, even if it's a championship team, you know, I'm a manufacturing guy, so I'm all about continuous improvement. And you know, you can always do better. And to me, I just look at it, and you know, I want to make it my own team as well. So with these two teams, first thing I did is I took a look at it, and I like youth for my dynasty leagues, probably to a fault. You know, a buddy of mine out in Michigan's been trying to sell me Antonio Brown for the last 3 years, and I'm always like, he's 27, he's too old for me. He's 28, he's too old for me. He's 29, you know. So at some point, it does bite you in the butt. But you know, I took a look at the one team, and the major piece I had was Zeke. And I'm like, you know, this team needs starters. This team needs picks. And I turned Zeke into probably, you know, 3 players and a number 1 pick or 2. This last week, in my other league that I took over, I had David Johnson. And the funny thing is, the market wasn't really there for him. But I think I kind of built it into it, and I snagged 2 first-round picks, 2 seconds, the Cleveland tight ends, and A.J. Green, and who else did I get? Oh, and Devontae Parker. Now, I threw a little bit on my,
Oh my gosh.
in addition to him, but David Johnson was the key to the whole thing. So, now I have a little bit of equity to work with, and I can get some other pieces. In the one league, I'm a little bit of a homer, but I'm actually a 2-part homer. You guys already know the Philly background, but I'm also an Auburn alum. So I love the SEC and the Auburn guys. So, just when Cam came out, I had him in probably every, dynasty league I have. Worked out very well. I didn't have to pay a lot for him. It was a rookie quarterback, so I have a good background and base of knowledge there with the SEC as well. So I usually kind of target some of those guys, and I have a definite bias against Bama players. I don't like Bama. But yeah, that's usually I usually dive feet first and just try and get as many picks as I can and players, and I trade off. Usually, just like T.Y. Hilton was in one of the deals too. Guy still has that name value and it still will be productive, but when you're talking about a speed guy like that, what's he hitting 20, 28? It was time, and I think I turned him into pick 1-7, and I think another nice player. Was it Brandon Cooks? Can't recall which one, but yeah, that's usually my hallmark is get youth, blow it up and make it my own team.
Well, let's talk about another one of those trades that you had made, Greg. In one of your dynasty leagues, you give up T.Y. Hilton, Russell Wilson, ASJ, and Chris Carson, and in exchange, you get your man Carson Wentz along with Sammy Watkins and a first-rounder. Tell us why you feel that the Watkins-Wentz first-round pick side was the better side of this deal.
Well, when I looked at it, Wentz, obviously he's an MVP type guy, and basically so is Russell. But I got 4 or 5 years younger there. The Sammy, we all have those handful of guys that we just have that that man crush on that we always have to have, and Sammy is one of mine, and he's still another guy who seems like he's been around a long time. He's turning 25. Completed a healthy season, albeit was, in my mind, underperforming if you look at the raw numbers, but at least he made it through the year. I'm hoping he doesn't sign back with the Rams. To me, it'd be a mistake. I saw, something was out there a few weeks ago that he was entertaining offers, and, I'm just hoping maybe he goes to San Fran and becomes the number 1 wide receiver there, or, that's probably the best landing spot. But then I probably would have done the deal just like that, because Chris Carson, is he going to be the starter? He's a wild card. He could turn out to something, but I got a number 1 pick to boot on top of 2 players that I targeted there. So, that one was kind of a no-brainer to me. So I think I came out on the good. Hey, trades should be, fair on both sides. I never go in to say, okay, I'm going to, try and fleece this guy. But, I might paint a rosy picture. The other thing is, a lot of times, I think too often you'll see, players that are just, that put too much merit into past performance. And it's all about what you do in the future. I'm not paying for what this guy did last year. So it's about targeting those guys that, you really feel that are undervalued, basically. Wentz wasn't, but in my opinion, Sammy Watkins was. So hopefully I'm right, because I have him in a number of leagues, so we'll see how that works out.
Well, let's shift to redraft here for a little bit here, Greg, and lead off with this email from Rick in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. He writes, "Dear Greg, nice job on all that FPC cash. how did you treat tight ends in the contest in 2017? Did you usually try to draft a stud one early, or just try and grab a bunch later on? Thank you for the email, Rick in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Yes, the tight end puzzle. How do you put it together? Greg, how did you put it together this past season for your teams?
I never like reaching too early for the tight ends, especially when the emphasis is there. I usually like to get my running back, my wide receiver starters first. So I start looking for value, usually in that 5th, 6th round, and just kind of take it from there. Again, it's about the value for me. I want to say I saw the value this year for Ertz, and he got taken probably 2 picks before me. And at that point, I just kind of, reversed gears and said, well, you know what, let's see who falls to me. Had a couple guys targeted, and, I like the rookies, but it's just so hard to really go after them. And really, to be honest, could you really count on any of the 3 rookies this year? Ingram was the exception, but it was really only because OBJ went out and, was hurt. So if you can't, in my opinion, if you can't get one of the top few ones, or if you're not willing to pay for them, then it's almost like you just kind of wait and see who falls to you and kind of take it from there. I mean, that's what, I had ASJ on a couple leagues and the redrafts. I had Hunter in the one, but he fell to me, and I had Eifert too, but that kind of turned out not so good. But
not so good.
Yeah. I mean, my druthers are to kind of look to see the value in that 5th, 6th, 7th round range, and then if you don't really kind of get who you target, then just kind of load up. And I frequently come out of these drafts with 3 or 4 of them, and just kind of throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Jim in Dallas, Texas, has thrown this question up against the wall. Assuming the Titans cut DeMarco Murray loose, how early is too early to grab a bell cow like Derrick Henry in drafts this year? Would you try and nab him in the 2nd or 3rd round? Thanks and congrats on your success. That is Jim in Dallas, Texas. Thanks so much for the email, Jim. Your opinion on Derrick Henry? How early is too early for him in 2018? Again, we saw Titans beat writer predict that the Titans will cut DeMarco Murray this year. So assuming he is cut loose and Henry is the guy there, how early would you take him in drafts this season, Greg?
See, it's one of those ones where it's a Bama player. You gotta pick them and swallow hard. It's kind of a tough one. He showed me more than I thought he was this year, especially late after Murray went out and he started to become the bell cow there. I don't think he's another Trent Richardson. 2nd round might be a little high for me. I think if I'm sitting there, especially if I'm going to go, running back, or running back and wide receiver in 2nd, if I can get him to fall to me in the 3rd round, I think that's cherry on top. 2nd, I just think there's better options there.
The next question, Dave, is your favorite one. I'm going to let you handle it if you're up to it.
Well, I have 2 favorites. Is it the money or the staying away?
Well, I'll tell you what. Those are the 2 questions we have left. Which one do you want to ask?
Let's ask about the guys who you're staying away from next year in the first couple rounds.
All right.
And then who's flying under the radar? Who's your sleeper? And then also, what are you doing with the 50? That's just one question.
Well, hey, I'm only an hour away from AC, so that's always calling me. The guy I'd probably stay away. The guy I'd probably stay away from is probably Julio Jones. I think the injuries are catching up with him. He's definitely a first rounder. He's going to go in the first round of probably every draft next year. It's a guy who makes me a little nervous. Now, truth be told, I have never really owned him in many of my leagues, redraft or dynasty. But I think the change in the offense, an offensive coordinator, losing Shanahan, Matty Ice doesn't look right. I just think they're starting to run a little bit more with the 2 backs there. Again, it's about value. He falls to the 2nd round, and maybe I nab Zeke and come back and get Julio, sure, that's a nice 1-2 combo. But it's not somebody I'm targeting in the first round. I mean, if that's where he goes, which 9 times out of 10 it is, he won't be on my team. The sleeper guy.
What about a sleeper?
Well, I'm going to say, even though I don't like him as a person, and I'm assuming this is going to be a sleeper, because I think it's probably somebody you get in the third, possibly fourth round, is Joe Mixon. There's a guy who did the horrible things, in college and everything else. Everybody knows about that. He actually, we played Oklahoma in a bowl game, and he tore us up, and we had a great defense at Auburn that year. So I saw him firsthand, and I was really impressed with his ability. And he would have easily been a probably top 20 NFL pick if it wasn't for his background. I think Jeremy Hill's going to be gone. Well, I know he's going to be gone. Still have Gio there, but he's a backup, a third down guy. I think they're going to improve the offensive line there. So I think there's a guy that would probably be a little undervalued. It's definitely a guy from a dynasty standpoint that I've been going after. If I didn't get him last year, I'm going after this year. But I'm going to say my sleeper is probably going to be Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon is a guy that could be an ascendant this year, Dave. We'll see what happens in the preseason, but he could ascend up boards given his pedigree and bouncing back off a bad year. Somebody who did not have a bad year, Mr. Greg Pignatelli. He joined us on the show tonight. Greg, thanks so much for coming on, man. Congrats on the great Football Guys success. Good luck. I know this is going to be a busy few months for you with all these dynasty leagues and trades and obviously getting ready for the rookie draft. That will be a lot of fun for you as well. And, best of luck at the tables in Atlantic City if you get there. And fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Thanks, guys. You have a good night. I had a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Greg Pignatelli, third-place finisher in the 2017 FPC.
I'm glad he made it back on after our broadcast snafu.
Oh, yeah. Great job by Greg, too. He put up with a lot of guff from us.
It wasn't our fault, though.
It wasn't our fault, but it was our show.
Technical difficulties?
There was technical difficulties. Should have asked him what was sweeter probably sweeter would have been winning the $250,000, but I wonder if he would have if he had the chance, hey, Greg, 2017, Eagles win Super Bowl or you take third place in the FPC, I think he might have chosen the Eagles.
Versus nothing?
No, you could say one of them will happen.
Right,
We'll either get third.
0 and the Eagles win or $15,000 and the Eagles
win. Either or.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you're correct there.
Yeah, because then he can just win the $250,000 this year.
Yeah, for the $250,000 he might have had to go with the Eagles. So.
Yeah. Let's get to Fantasy Flash here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Roto World, Rob, and Football Guys for tonight's rundown. Talk about Carson Wentz.
Rob's been doing a really good job lately.
Solid worker.
Rob, I take back some of the things.
Does yeoman's work. Did great job on the HSFFR website for sure. Carson Wentz was throwing 50-yard passes at the Super Bowl, according to Jimmy Kempski from PhillyVoice.com. Now, Carson Wentz, his arm was really never in question. Had a cannon coming out of North Dakota. However, the knee is the problem, Dave. It's the knee. More damage to it than we originally thought, as was reported a few weeks ago. He had surgery in mid-December and ACL, LCL damage. I don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. Let me ask you this. I was doing the show, the Appleton Trophy Fantasy Football Show on AM 1570 and 95.3 The Score. We do a show once a month in the offseason. We were talking about Carson Wentz.
What week do you do it?
Last Thursday of the month.
The last Thursday?
Last Thursday of the month.
So tune in, people.
Yeah. So anyway, Carson Wentz, I thought was going to be a nice little value this year in fantasy drafts because I thought
coming up
2018 because I thought that people would not want to take a guy coming off an ACL that may not even be ready for week 1.
Right. Of course. You're smart.
Right.
Well, actually, go ahead, Phil.
Looked on Fantasy Pros. Now, this is a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it's changed since then. The consensus ranking of the experts who are putting together rankings right now, as far as quarterbacks go, this is probably the consensus of about 12 or 13 people that had submitted data.
Can I guess what they are at?
I don't know what round he was going in. Guess what
range?
What quarterback he was off the board.
Okay, I would personally rank him about 12.
That's probably where I'd have him. 12, 13 range.
4 or 5.
4 is correct.
I mean, these guys are such idiots.
Yeah, I cannot get behind the fourth quarterback off the board. Makes no sense to me.
I was reading the Wall Street Journal today, and they had an article about how Nick Foles had such a great run and that he should be traded. Well, no, that's not an irrational thing. He's getting, I think, $7.6 million or something like that. But I mean, keep in mind, Wentz repaired his knee in mid-December, and like you said, it's a little more damage than it. With the size of the salary cap, I don't think keeping Foles for $7+ million is necessarily a bad move. You can ease Wentz back into action; it's fine. And what if it generally doesn't happen with these ACLs and whatever. But what if you have an Andrew Luck situation? I'm not predicting it like I did with Andrew Luck correctly, by the way.
Yeah.
I think Wentz will come back and be fine, but he really might not be the same all of next year. And maybe they decide at some point, like week 11, week 12, like, oh, you know what, we're gonna redshirt him or whatever, give him an extra year off. Or he could be fine and come back. And you have that luxury. Why not take it?
Can I throw something at you?
Throw away, pal.
You trade Foles for whatever. Okay. Whatever you can get for him.
Yeah.
Okay? And then for your starter, your quote-unquote starter for the first couple weeks, take whatever.
Mark Sanchez?
No. Take whatever Minnesota
which one of those guys
keep.
Them?
Yeah. Because they're not going to keep Keenum, Bradford, and Bridgewater.
That's actually not a bad idea.
And I think that you could probably get one of those guys.
So arbitrage your way up to a little bit inferior talent, but because Foles goes for a premium price, you deal him. That makes sense.
And you can get a pretty good draft pick, I would imagine, for Foles in the QB-needy league. We're getting into some non-fantasy stuff here, and I don't want to get into it too much. But I wanted to bring up the whole Carson Wentz thing because clearly he is not a bargain right now. I would be true. Well, we'll get to Andrew Luck in a little bit.
You know who was the original Nick Foles big fan? Was our buddy College Football Metrics, actually.
R.C. Fisher.
R.C. Fisher has been a huge Foles guy, and he thinks the NFL misevaluated him for a few years, which they did.
They did.
And he was correct all along. Good job, R.C.
If you wanted to listen to that R.C. Fisher interview, go to hsf@power.com, click on the show highlights tab, and his link is right on there. So check that out. Check out collegefootballmetrics.com, obviously, too, a great website. And honestly, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus as far as draft prep and rookie draft prep websites that are out there because they're all very, very good and they all cover a niche in the market. However, R.C. Fisher, and I think Dave would back me up on this, he is one of the more entertaining guys, especially if you're watching the draft and you want to get instant draft analysis. Follow this guy. He has, I believe, Dave, he has a live blog. Is that correct? He has a live blog going during the NFL draft and kind of gives pick-by-pick analysis. It is, he is the shark of snark, and it is a fantastic follow. So check that out on NFL Draft Time at collegefootballmetrics.com. The Detroit Lions hired former Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, he of the guy who could not stop Nick Foles in the Super Bowl, as head coach on Monday, according to FS1's Christine Leahy during The Herd with Colin Cowherd. You ever listen to that show, Dave? Me either.
No, I hate Colin Cowherd. He's an ass.
Well, I don't hate him. I just
kind of an asshole, if you want me to get through the whole.
I think you kind of have to be on. Well, I don't want to get into it. So this, we had talked about this for quite a while now. As far as fantasy goes, Matt Patricia is a defensive guy, so I don't know if we can glean anything like this until we know who the offensive coordinator is going to be. Now, we know Jim Bob Cooter will be kept on staff by Matt Patricia, but he did not announce Jim Bob Cooter as the offensive coordinator for 2018. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Dave, given the fact that we saw 2 wide receiver ones come from this team, 2 top 12 receivers, I think it's pretty important to see what they do for offensive coordinator here because Matt Patricia certainly is not going to affect fantasy draft boards like the OC will.
Yeah, you're very correct, actually. I totally think that's true.
You would like to see somebody who generates something with the running game there, too.
Yeah. I mean, Abdullah's been really disappointing.
I'm pretty much done with him.
I kind of am, too. I mean, I really liked him a lot coming out of college. He has some really good agility numbers, and he just hasn't done it.
No, he really hasn't.
By the way, Matt Patricia, one of the few, most people I think look stupid with the mustache and beard. Type in Matt Patricia no beard on Google Images, and you're going to see he looks like the biggest nerd out there. He needs that big, ginormous Game of Thrones type beard.
Yep.
Keep it.
He's got a Tormund Giantsbane black version in a little bit for that black version of the beard.
We talked about this just hanging out. Matt Patricia was an engineer. I think he went to RPI or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah, he has an aeronautics degree, aeronautical space degree or something like that.
Yeah, let me just make sure about
that. So it is something like that.
Yeah, RPI, and he majored in aeronautical engineering.
Aeronautical engineering. There you go.
That's great. I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Belichick has a lot of those. He hires a lot of those smart people.
Yeah.
Smart people are smart. They do good things.
Smart people who don't flake out on potential jobs. Like.
You know what? I actually support Josh McDaniels because he decided he wanted to uproot his family to go to work for an alcoholic.
And
Jim Irsay, the whole alcoholic, like, why isn't Luck playing? He needs to be all drunk and stuff.
And I'll say this. People are like, oh, his agent left him and he says his agent said he committed career suicide. You know what?
Totally disagree.
I totally disagree too. If Josh McDaniels gets the job done, then he's going to be in demand. It doesn't really matter that he flaked out on the Colts. I mean, who wouldn't? Well, we're going to get to Andrew Luck in a little bit, I believe. But there's a lot to say about the Colts situation right now, and I don't blame anybody for not wanting to be a part of that. Jimmy Garoppolo, let's talk about this nonsense. He's due $42.6 million in the first year of his 5-year, $137 million contract, this according to Adam Schefter on Twitter. The Niners had $80 million available to them in cap space, and now Garoppolo is going to suck up $43 million of that year one. He's going to earn $19 million in 2019 before just taking in $25 million in 2020. A massive financial commitment, Dave, but if the Niners are putting their money on Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe we should be putting our money on the guys they're going to supply that are going to be the weapons for Jimmy Garoppolo. The Pierre Garçons of the world, the maybe George Kittle as a late tight end 3 for people this year. We'll see what they do opposite Garçon, or maybe it's Marquise Goodwin again. And I think that the running game is a little bit unsettled with Carlos Hyde as free agent. But be paying attention to these offensive pieces in San Francisco because they will matter.
It's true, actually. People get used to the Niners sucking, and the fact that they paid that much for Garoppolo.
Yeah.
He is undefeated in his career, by the way.
He is undefeated. Never lost a game he started. Hey, where would you be picking him?
In redraft?
Yeah. How many quarterbacks would go off the board before you take Garoppolo? 15? 10? 2?
I'm just trying to think about this.
If we went by salary, he would be the first one off the board.
Yeah. I probably would put him somewhere in the 12, 13.
Okay, perfect. You're setting up my question beautifully. This is great.
for bad analysis.
You have no quarterback so far in your draft. It's round 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo are both up there. Okay. You have one quarterback, and it's round 11. And you want to get one back up. Carson Wentz or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, then I'm taking Wentz probably.
Okay. All right. And by the way, I agree with you on both prospects. This was an interesting tweet from our friend Evan Silva. Evan Silva, former guest of the show. By the way, check his interview out at hsfpower.com.
Silva's great.
He tweeted out this past week, Bears tight end Adam Shaheen will be a second-year breakout candidate.
Hey, that's the news I read to you.
In the Kelsey role.
Were you listening?
I saw you.
All right.
Tweeted this. I retweeted it. You retweeted it. I saw the retweet.
Fine.
Bears tight end Adam Shaheen will be second-year breakout candidate in Kelsey role under ex-Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. Shaheen caught 86% of his targets, but he blocked on 70% of the snaps last year. In
that argument right there, that is that's ironclad, just solid. This happened, and this happened, and because this happened, now this is going to happen.
What's the percentage of teams you're going to have Adam Shaheen on next year? Because you won't be drafting him as your starter, I'm assuming.
You know, even in redraft and in Dynasty, quite a few actually. I actually own him, I think, in 3 or 4 of my 8 Dynasty leagues right now.
You say this is ironclad, and
that doesn't mean he's ironclad.
No, hold on. No. The logic is ironclad. Let me tell you, the one part that doesn't make this ironclad is the fact that we think it's ironclad. I honestly can't think of this makes perfect sense.
Well, there's still the Trubisky factor.
Okay, but now you have a young offensive mind coming in to be the offensive
versus an old offensive
versus
mind.
John Fox. Who, is he even an offensive guy? I always thought he was a defense guy.
He looks like an idiot.
He coached a game in which Mitchell Trubisky threw 7 passes. 7. And I believe he completed 5 of them for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, was that the draft where Deshaun Watson went 10 picks later?
Yeah.
No, second year. Oh, yeah, no. Mahomes went apex later.
Okay, but my point is, I think there's potential here with not only Trubisky, but with this offense.
I think Trubisky has some potential.
And Shaheen looks like, I mean, who do young quarterbacks usually rely on when the bullets start flying?
Absolutely.
Those tight ends. And
yeah.
And the fact that we saw what Kelsey did in Kansas City under Nagy, I think that there's a poor man's potential for Shaheen. I will, as of right now.
He's smoking.
As of right now, I cannot advocate him as a starter. But if you look at how bad the tight ends were last year, outside the top 2 or 3, you could certainly make a case that Shaheen will be a top 12 guy this year.
I think Shaheen would be part of what I'm now dubbing my Holy Trinity strategy for tight ends. When you take 3 garbage tight ends, and that's your Holy Trinity of tight ends, and one of them will emerge. Shaheen is one of my Trinity.
Right. Yeah, okay. So Shaheen's part of the Trinity.
Sure.
Interesting. All right. Let's move on here, Dave, and let's get into some emails, which I have in front of me. Thank you. Dan in Fort Myers, Florida. I own Gronkowski in 2 dynasty leagues, and I'm wondering how serious I should take these retirement reports and what I should be looking to get back for him. Thank you for the email, Dan in Fort Myers, Florida. Dave, I also own Rob Gronkowski in 1 dynasty league. I placed him on the block. Have not made any offers because I'm just kind of seeing who's out there, or what kind of interest I get. Right. So far, it's been nil, but I mean I get that this time of year. It makes sense. So you look at Rob Gronkowski. Let's break down the retirement percentage chance that Rob Gronkowski is not in a Patriots uniform week 1 of the 2018 season. That he is not in uniform.
20.
I'd say it's between 10 and 20 right now.
Sure. 20 might be a lot.
I feel like this is still an emotional guy that is coming off a...
And you heard the advice he got recently, right?
Oh, from The Rock? And
yes.
Somebody else.
Another wise person known as
Schwarzenegger?
Rambo.
Oh, Rambo, yeah. Maybe he'll be an Expendables 4. Now, that'd be great.
I mean, it's actually, the advice is not terrible because he has
charismatic.
Good little charisma, yeah.
I read some report that he hasn't spent his Patriots money. He's just been living off his endorsements.
Yeah, so he's rich, smart.
And I mean, it's not like he's been injury free.
Right.
I mean,
he did get jacked up.
Yeah.
With that hit.
That said, a guy who's still in his 20s, who many consider the greatest tight end ever, I feel like we're just not there yet. So I will not be panicking and selling Gronk. That said, if you want to look for a younger option to get and maybe pocket an extra draft pick, look at last year's tight end class, man. This is the time to buy him. I would outside of Evan Engram, I think they're all buys right now. And Njoku, the guy from Tampa, Howard. Who's the other one that I'm forgetting? I thought there was a 4th rookie one that was really good. Maybe there was.
I think there was a 3.
Maybe there was a 3.
But
that's where I'd start.
I agree with you.
I'd look at Njoku and Howard.
If you're interested in trading Gronk, I think it's not a bad idea. If you're in, people always talk about crappy offers and this and that. Why not throw Gronk out for Kelsey and throw Gronk out for Ingram? And there's a chance, because I see these Twitter polls all the time where I look at them like, no chance. And then meanwhile, it's like 72-28. One of those people is one of the 28% who will buy Gronk, who's way older than those 2. There is a chance you can get Kelsey or Ingram. And I would feel pretty good about those 2. Given the gargantuan youth difference between, it's not that gargantuan for Kelsey.
What if, let me ask you this. Let's say we get done with the show tonight and you high-five me, thanking me for an amazing performance like usual.
Yeah.
And then you check your inbox and you have a trade offer.
For Gronk?
For Gronk. You have Gronk. And this. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. And let's say this guy's offering you Evan Engram in the 202.
Yeah,
you take it. You would take Engram in the 202.
Yeah, I would.
What if it was just Engram?
I honestly might.
Really?
I might.
Engram straight up, huh?
It's a little. But, he had a fantastic rookie year. Granted, he had some injuries with ODB and so forth.
Yeah.
But, he's going to be a top 5 tight end. There's probably a 80-90% chance Ingram will be a top 5 tight end for the next, 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
And Gronk, there's a 10 to 20% chance he won't even play next year.
That's true.
And then,
in your opinion.
Yeah, in our opinion. Yours, ours, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you have 3 years, 4 years after that, he's probably done.
Aces Rebels in the chat room. I'm going to tee this up for you a little bit. You get the 110 and Jonnu Smith for Gronk.
No,
that's not enough.
Johnny was too much of a reach, and the 110 is a total flyer. No,
okay,
not even close.
Let's say
Let's say 103 or 102.
I would say 104.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, and as far as Kelsey goes, you would trade Gronk for Kelsey straight up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely would. All right. Dear Balky and Dizzle, Dave's been beating the avoid Andrew Luck drum for more than a year. Are you changing your tune after Ballard said he won't need any more surgery? As an aside, I hope you guys continue to do the show year-round, even when most other fantasy football podcasts go into hibernation. That is Chris in El Monte, California. Thank you, Chris. And we will be doing this show year-round because Dave and I don't really have anything better to do on a Friday night. So we hang out with you guys here on the show. So you have been very anti-Andrew Luck as far as fantasy goes.
And beards go.
Chris Ballard came out and said he will not need additional surgery. That said,
that was full of crap.
Still not throwing. And we know that, I mean, it seems like all we've been done by the Colts has been lied to about Andrew Luck.
Can I just do this?
And maybe they're lying to themselves. That's the other thing that we should bring in.
All right. If you're on Twitter, you have to follow @Capt CAPT Andrew Luck, Captain Andrew Luck.
Right.
I mean, I read one of his tweets recently.
Okay, the way that this Captain Andrew Luck is, it's a play off Andrew Luck's beard and how he does look like a Civil War general. So all these tweets are sort of like the letters home that soldiers, that a Civil War soldier would write to his family.
His description is soldier, period, Colt, period, simple man.
Right,
period.
right. So he posts these letters home as Andrew Luck. Okay, so there was a good one this week after the McDaniels stuff went down.
Dearest mother, I write with most distressful news. The men have been hoodwinked. The deserter McDaniels is on the lam, likely headed toward New England. My best scouts report. Was this a ploy to merely spy? We shall never know. Irritating, Andrew. So great.
That was pretty good.
Such good stuff.
That said, you are still not buying that Luck will. Well, surgery aside, you're just off him in general.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think. I think there's a 30 to 40% chance his career is over.
Right.
Like completely done.
What would you give up for him in Dynasty right now? Third rounder? Would you give up?
No, I would give that. I would give up a second.
Okay.
But that's it. I mean,
I would give up a second rounder for Andrew Luck. I don't think I would. I think I like him more than you.
Mid to late. Yeah, that's true. Still a quarterback. I mean, I don't know if you can get Winston or somebody for Andrew Luck.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally.
Take that.
Yeah.
Or any of those youngish guys. Patrick Mahomes, I would take Mahomes.
I'm trying to think of another. Goff you would take over Luck, right?
Yeah, I would take Goff.
Yeah. Who's another good young quarterback that we can? That's not.
Well, Garoppolo for sure.
Well, yeah, that's obvious, but I'm trying to. This is terrible.
Well, where it gets tough is when you get into the Stafford-esque type guys, where it's like
Derek Carr. You take Derek Carr.
I would take him and his mascara.
Yeah. What about David Carr?
No.
You take David Carr?
No.
All right.
Sorry.
Moving on. So one other thing, I'll bring this up. Saturday Night Live had a great sketch prior to the Super Bowl.
Skit?
Yeah. And it was set back in 1776. And these George Washington and all these generals were kind of mapping out the Revolution. And then this messenger comes in, "Sir, we've just gotten word that the Patriots of New England have taken Bunker Hill." And everybody's like, "Oh." And the guy's like, "This is great news." He's like, "Yeah, it's just that do the Patriots have to win all the battles?" And then all these Patriots, New England Patriots come in with these those steel mugs that you drink ale out of. They all come in, they're all drunk and we took them, we're wicked good. And then it's our General Thomas Brady's never lost. It was just so then they did the same thing with the Eagles of Philadelphia coming in, and they're saying leave this to us, we got this, and they're like, you don't have the track record of the Patriots of New England. It was a great sketch.
That's pretty good.
Go check it out. It's fantastic. There's a lot more stuff that I'm not getting into.
That's pretty
very,
funny.
very funny. Roy in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hey, guys, what are your thoughts on the pro chops of DJ Moore, the receiver from Maryland? Dave, this is a guy that actually you brought up to me this week.
Just out of nowhere.
Actually, it might have been last Friday that I think you had casually mentioned. And I said we should talk about that on the show. And we never did, and now we get this email in magically. So this DJ Moore, I believe he is coming out a year early. He led the Big Ten in receiving at Maryland. Led the Big Ten in receiving.
Which is so annoying that Maryland's even in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but talk a little bit about him, because this is a guy that I don't think he's a first round pick, but he's been shooting up people's draft boards as far as overall NFL draft boards go. What about him in Dynasty? Because I think he could sneak into the first round of Dynasty rookie drafts, even with the heavy running back class that is in front of us.
This is what's so hilarious, by the way. I'm going to interrupt your question.
Well, I'm done with the question, so you would just be answering.
Interrupt my own answer for it. So I click on ESPN for DJ Moore size, 5'11", 215. I've seen that as well. Whatever's on
measurements.
Yeah, whatever's on Google, 5'9", 180. 5'9", 180. That's insanely different.
Yep.
What do the Terps have him as? They have him as 5'11", 215, and that's the measurement I thought.
He will be at the combine, so we'll know. Yeah.
And at the 40 time was like a 4.56. So we don't really know. But I mean, that's size. Yeah. If he's 5'11", 215, but that's not that bad. That's a really huge wide receiver at that size.
James Washington.
I was watching his film, but he doesn't look as gangly as Washington. Washington just looks like a running back playing receiver.
Okay.
Moore looks like, dare I say, he looks a little Icon-esque. He looks a little bit like Steve Smith. He goes out there and he makes catches. He evades people and then he punishes them. He's pretty awesome. Yeah. I think he's going to be a really good pro.
The other thing to keep in mind too is for the majority of the season last year, Maryland was on their third string quarterback after their first two quarterbacks tore ACL. So he was catching passes from a guy that nobody really expected to see the field. So certainly interesting stuff from there from DJ Moore. Like I said, I think he could sneak in the end of first round rookie drafts. It'll depend upon where he goes in the second round and who he goes to, given the opportunity that will be in front of him. So definitely be paying attention to him, and we'll get into much more at DJ Moore as the season goes on. Bill in Chicago, Illinois, I can't get over what some people say they're willing to pay for Saquon Barkley on Twitter. Could you guys play a Dynasty Would You Rather with the 101? Thanks, fellas. That is Bill in Chicago, Illinois. All right, Dave. Dynasty Would You Rather with the 101. Okay?
Okay.
Would you rather have the 101 or want to frame this? Okay. Dynasty 101 or Dalvin Cook?
You know what's funny is that during the show, I offered Anarchy Dalvin Cook.
In the Blake Harrington Dynasty.
Yeah. He has a 101. I offered him Cook for
the 101. Yeah, turned it down.
I don't know. I'm sure he hasn't replied. So I would rather have the 101.
You would rather have the 101 than Dalvin Cook. The 101 or Melvin Gordon?
101. I'd rather have Cook than Gordon, so that makes it kind of easy for me.
Oh, okay. The 101 or Leonard Fournette?
I'll take the 101. I'll take Barkley.
The 101 or Christian McCaffrey?
That's getting closer. I'll still take Barkley, though. He's a 3-down superstar.
The 101 or Kareem Hunt?
God, now that's where it gets kind of close, right? Because it's proven versus still not proven. I'm actually really hyped. I'm going to go with the 101.
The 101 or Alvin Kamara?
101.
The 101.
Kamara's not a 3-down back at this point.
No, he's not. 101 or Le'Veon Bell?
I'll go Bell.
I think you would take David Johnson over the 101 then?
David Johnson's 27. How old is Bell? He's like younger.
Yeah, I remember he came into the league super young, if I remember correctly. Came out early.
I probably would take David Johnson, even with the uncertainty.
Well, it's hard to believe he's 27 already.
Bell is 25. David Johnson came out, at an older age.
He was fairly old, yeah.
And then obviously I would take Zeke and I would take Gurley.
I wasn't even ask you that. 101 or Julio Jones?
101.
101 or Mike Evans?
101. I'm starting to think Mike Evans. People, by the way, Mike Evans, if you're interested in dealing him, I've seen all these dynasty trades. He's commanding a ton still.
He is.
And Amari Cooper, by the way, is also going for a lot.
Yeah.
So if you don't like Amari Cooper, like I don't, get rid of him now. You can still get like the 103 or 104 for him.
I want to put a pin in the Evans discussion because we have another email about that. 101 or Michael Thomas?
That's kind of tough. I'll take Barkley. He's rarer.
The 101 or DeAndre Hopkins?
I'll take Hopkins.
The 101 or Antonio Brown?
101.
101.
Antonio Brown's getting old.
I know he is. 101 or Odell Beckham?
I should say if you have a team that's really due to win this year. Although I would still take 101. You know what? I don't like ODB that much. I'll take the 101. I think that the commercial was very suitable for him.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say
we don't
about
need to
it.
get into that. FFPC scoring 101 or Travis Kelce.
101.
I think I'm done. I think that's enough.
By the way, his startup dynasty value right now, if you're doing a startup draft, he goes up to 12.2.
Who? I'm sorry?
Barkley.
Oh,
He's going at the end of the first round in startups.
Oh,
without a team. He's a top 12
The 112.
Yeah, the 12. Yeah, the 12.
I thought you said the 12.2, and I'm like, where the hell did this come
Pick
from?
12.2.
I got it.
The 12th pick.
All right.
So there's not a whole lot of players that people are taking over.
I teased the Evans trade. Let's get to it. Ben in Granby, Massachusetts. Which side would you rather have in this deal? A guy in my league just offered me David Johnson and Mike Evans for DeAndre Hopkins and Alvin Kamara.
I'll take the
deal?
Hopkins side.
You would take Hopkins and Kamara. Now, this is interesting, Dave, because I think this is a recency bias trade. You're talking about guys who are coming off very poor 2017s in exchange for two guys coming off very awesome 2017s.
You know what? That's a very good point.
So you look at this deal, and it looks shiny on paper right now. You got to believe Kamara's efficiency comes down. It's hard to believe this, but I think Hopkins could have an even bigger year next year with a full season of Watson. I don't believe Evans is going to be this bad next year. And David Johnson's a wild card. I really don't know what to think about him yet.
Well, the way I kind of look at it is I like Hopkins has been way more consistent. He's one of, I think, 4 receivers to have some stat of X number of receptions before age 25 or something like that. It was like Moss, him, some other Hall of Famer, and Fitz or something.
Yeah.
It was 300 receptions maybe before age 25, and Hopkins is one of them. So he's way better, in my opinion, as far as stability goes than Evans. Evans, I don't know if I can trust necessarily. He didn't have a good year last year. And that matters. It does matter. David Johnson's 27. Kamara's way younger. So give me 4 more years, fine.
Also a little
Give me
concerned.
4 more years. We'll see what happens in this coming election.
I don't know where that's coming from. I think it's interesting too that Tampa is bringing back Dirk Ketter and that same offense that we saw really not do very much.
Implode.
And maybe we see that again this year with Jameis Winston, with Mike Evans. You like to think O.J. Howard takes a step forward, but he had 6 touchdowns last year. It's not like he had a bad season. So
I'd like to think that Jameis takes a step forward. I mean, he really kind of struggled a little bit, and I hate to be judgmental. I mean, just Jameis, he was it Hard Knocks or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he just some of the rah-rah speeches and then back home and everything like that. He just does not come across as someone who's really going to be making a lot of adaptations and getting better necessarily.
Remember when he ate the win, or when he tasted the win?
Do that, some of the stuff, his speeches are the worst, man.
Speaking of Hard Knocks, you should have seen some of the Florida State ones, man.
As you said, they got better, and the ones I saw were the better ones.
The ones that you saw were the good ones, but when he's rallying him before, playing, Boston College or Syracuse, it was just I don't, whatever. Speaking of Hard Knocks, I always like to tell this DeAndre Hopkins story, and there's an expletive in here. He was coming into his sophomore year, or second year in the NFL. Hard Knocks was shooting the scrimmage between Washington and Houston. D'Angelo Hall was talking mad trash at DeAndre Hopkins. And D'Angelo Hall, back in his day was a pretty good corner.
Right.
This was one of his, he was past his prime, still doing very well, but he was covering Hopkins and on this play after just, talking smack. And it was a route where Hopkins busted down the field, turned in, and then on a dime, turned back out. The ball was right there, and it was a 9-yard gain. And everybody was like, oh, somebody just dropped a verse or something. Everybody's like, oh, and then it gets, and Hopkins wasn't saying anything. And he's just staring at Hall, who might have blown out an ACL on the play. I mean, he was laying on the ground. He did, but he might have
totally turned around and fell over.
He might have been faking an injury too, just to make it look better. But after the ing stopped, Hopkins just turned around and looked at him. He's like, I don't start shit, I end it. That is the most baller line after he just did that.
That's a superstar type of stuff.
It was superstars type. Hopefully this was superstar type stuff on the show tonight with Greg Pignatelli, our third place finisher in the Football Guys Players Championship. I want to thank him for joining the show tonight. What a treat to have him on. Great stuff. And I want to thank Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Hey, you know, when we were doing that Dynasty Would You Rather with the 101 pick, and I said I was done, that was enough. There's one other one I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the 101 or the 102?
That's such a moron.